Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another boxing, another offline product game review. This is Carrion for the Nintendo Switch. To jump right into it, my physical copy here comes with the update version 1.0.11 already on the cartridge, but sadly there was an update available. Now this physical copy here comes with the Carrion, the main game, as well as Carrion, the Greatest Time of the Year DLC on the cartridge as well. As well as that, I thought it was a nice little feature that after you beat the main game, you unlock the demo, which is an extra bonus little extra content. It's not just a basic demo where you play the main game, a small segment of it, but it actually has a little bit of different level design and approach to it, because it was a free download that allowed you to test out the game before you bought it. So I'm really happy they actually included it on the cartridge because it actually has something different. So I wish more games did this. I don't care if it's free, that you can freely download it. There's no point of putting it on the cartridge. No. Put it all on the cartridge. I want everything on the cartridge or on the disc. I don't care if it's freely available to download. Just put it all on there. So I think they did an amazing job. Now, if you've already noticed, this is the import version of Carrion. There is an American version, but it was only distributed through Special Reserve Games. I didn't buy a copy from them because I had a feeling that there was going to be another version be made, either through an Asian import or PAL version, and it turned out to be I was correct. It was a little ways later that the PAL version became available. I don't know if the American version from Special Reserve Games is the same identical what's on the cartridge as the PAL version that I have here, so there could be discrepancies in terms of what the American version got and what this PAL version, since it came out later compared to what everyone got through Special Reserve Games. But they could be identical too. I just don't have a copy to fully test that. Now, if you don't know anything about Carrion, it's kind of a reverse style game where you don't play as the hero that defeats the villain. You are the villain. You are the monster that stalks the knight. So it was really refreshing in that field that it's a different approach than what you see a lot of games where you get to play, as I said, the hero. So it was really refreshing that you get to play the villain, you get to play the monster, not no anti-hero, not no villain with some silver lining to them. No, you're just straight up the big baddie that's going to destroy the world. And it's just, I really have talked about this multiple times, how I really am tired of games being the hero, or the hero always wins. So it was really fun and refreshing to play a newer version, a newer style game. Even though, be it perfectly honest, Carrion is a bit of a letdown in terms of overall scope of the game. Pretty much the beginning, or even if you could play the demo first, is pretty much summarizes the entire game, and basically just rinse and repeats. It feels like more like a novelty. They just followed on a novelty, like, ooh, you get to play the monster this time, and that's about it. They don't really do anything, no real deep story, no interesting mechanics or anything like that. You just devour civilians and NPCs and so on and gets more powerful. No, it does have at least a little bit Metrovania-esque style to it, where you unlock more abilities that allow you to progress and just do certain other things that you can't do until you have unlocked more abilities. Kind of like a Metrovania, but it's nothing truly insanely amazing that they added to it. It's just a few little added features here and there. And that's the biggest thing, is that once you complete one level, the next level is going to pretty much be the same thing, just a little bit harder. Then you beat that level, and it's the same thing again, just a little harder. It doesn't really add newer features or newer content or get you more rich into the environment. And even the environment does get a little repetitive. And the gameplay at least doesn't stick around long. I beat the game for around 3 to 3.5 hours long, and that's not including the demos and the DLC. I say it all together, it probably was around 4 or maybe 5 hours it spent throughout the entire game. So the disappointing part about it is it feels like it's a novelty. It's like, ooh, you get to play the big bad, which was fun, don't get me wrong. That was a lot of fun to go around consuming everyone. But I wish there was a little bit more. It feels like I said, this was more like a experimental, a test version before you got the real version later on. Now, the controls are really good. The creature moves around really fast, and it's very intimidating seeing this creature just fly at if I was the NPC. But navigating sometimes, like to grab stuff or grab a person, isn't as smooth and as accurate as you may like. The joystick definitely seems like it's supposed to be used for a mouse than a joystick for me. Anyway, it's a little difficult. Not game breaking, but frustrating. As well as that, always the transitions between levels. There's a lot of just transitions in the game. There's constant transitions. And especially how fast the character moves, this does get a little annoying. As well as that, like, tunnels in the game. You can go into a tunnel and it sends you to another area, you can find yourself getting sucked into that tunnel even though you didn't mean to go in that tunnel, and you just, here you are, you're stuck in this area because you can't go back through that tunnel. And one last thing, for some reason they didn't include the ability to access a map, so if you're not somebody who has good environmental awareness, you can find yourself getting lost or confused on where exactly you need to go, especially if you like dropped the game and probably came back a day later or went to work and came back, because that even happened to me where I got back from work, I sat down and started playing it, and I couldn't even remember where I needed to go or which direction, and I didn't have a map to memorize where exactly I needed to be. These little things start adding up. It just little things like that did get a little annoying, but it didn't really ruin the experience than what it was trying to deliver, where you get to play as the big bad monster and you just stalk the night and try to kill everything and consume everything. Good concept, just could have gone a little bit more depth. If I could add a little things they could have added, allowed a little bit more sneak in the game, where you can like stalk in the vents and stuff like that, where you got a little bit more quiet, a little bit more sneaky in the environment. Then you can have a few of those bursting into the gates and killing everything. But the one thing I think they really should have had in the game is that the hero, like in the movies, you got the final girl, you got the group of scientists you could have had, and then you had to like try to work your way to try to pick them off one by one, and then you eventually come do it against the hero, and then you kill the hero, and then you got the final girl, and then the final girl could like end up killing you, but the ending of the game reveals that you weren't really dead, kind of like a movie. I think that would add a lot more to the experience than just rinse and repeating the same mechanics, same NPCs, same environments, and just overall just the same old. Just basically do the same thing and just copy and paste constantly. It's basically Carrion. But I think it was a good foundation. If they do, like I said, with the second one, then make the Metrovania mechanics a little bit more deeper, allow you to do a bit more stealth, a little bit more mechanics, as well as include the hero, if you will, the group that's going to try to defeat the creature that you are. That allowed and introduced this mechanic of the feeling like you are powerful, you are destructive, but there is this hero that some reason can always get the upper hand, it always defeats you. And I can see that being very interesting for the player to see the villain side. Like, I should have had him. Why wouldn't it let me have him? Even though we see those in movies, plot armor, and just impossible odds where the hero somehow just barely makes it out of it or defeats the creature. I think that stuff could have been really interesting for a game like this. Maybe in the future, and that's maybe a suggestion. I'm sure they're probably going to look into making a sequel to this, because from what I gather, it's done really well. And it's considered, I didn't think it won Game of the Year, but it was nominated for Game of the Year for indie area. And a lot of people seem to enjoy it, which I've talked about that. I'm sure a lot of people did enjoy it because, like I said, it's a breath of fresh air, where you finally get to do something a little different than constantly being the hero of light, or the female that overpowers everything, or the male that somehow just overcomes all odds. It's just refreshing to get to play a true monster, a true villain, not no silver lining, no anti-hero, not some renegade who's badass and somehow he could just save the day even though he's completely cold and a jerk or whatever. It was just one of my most favorite true villain stories in gaming is from Undertale, and that is the genocide route, because there's no hero to that. The heroes are trying to stop you, and it has a lot of impact to the game. And that's why I talk about this. This game could have really had something like that. You introduce these NPCs, they start talking, you start seeing the dialogue exchange, you see them like walking through the vents, and you're trying to stalk them slowly, probably getting a little bit of story segments and information. You can see that stuff like done in movies. Like, you're hiding in an event and you can see the NPCs talking about their experiments and like, why did you do that? But you're like slowly moving in to pick one of them off because they went to go to the bathroom alone by themselves, like you can see in the cliches of horror movies. Stuff like that could have added a lot to the experience. But like I said, I think this was just a foundation idea, and the sequel I have high expectations with. That's why I consider it a good disappointment. They have potential here. They have a formula here that was really good, refreshing, and it was good until you did it like 3 or 4 times, repeating the same process, and you started realizing, yep, you've pretty much seen everything the game has to offer. But in my opinion, yes, it's a good game to have on your shelf. If you're a collector, then considering you have the main game, the DLC, the demo, all on the cartridge, I didn't experience any bugs or problems or frame rate issues on the Switch. then it was generally a great physical copy. The only problem is that there's not a lot of replay value. It's more of a novelty thing to have on your shelf than really like, hey, I got this amazing game. It's more like, hey, check out this game you never expect would exist kind of style. Like, man, you get to play the bad guy, the monster. So I'm going to start rambling because I wanted to emphasize on this game because it's something I've been talking about where I get to play as the bad guy. And I'm glad there's finally some games that's been introducing this. Not the ridiculous name being a bad guy where you're just some guy going to shoot up shoot up a place. There's a story involved, characters and monsters, environments and stuff like that. Overall, I think this game is something to look into. It's more of a novelty, so I wouldn't expend outrageous amounts of money because, like I said, you're only going to get maybe about 4, maybe 3 hours of content out of the game, and you might just want to look into like getting a digital version first to see if it's worth your time. But if you're a Switch collector, it might be worth your time. I can see it being a fun little game and not like something to show somebody if you ever have somebody come over and play some of your games or something like that. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I'll try to leave links down in the description if you're interested in copying. As I said, look into it. Then what you see, basically what you're seeing in the game is pretty much what the game has to offer. The first level I did is pretty much to summarize the entire experience. Right there, right here in the video. That's everything you're going to be doing in the game. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next unboxing video. Bye-bye!